Hello and welcome to the Padawan Podcast Anthology series. Our spin-off series of our all Star Wars podcast here at Apocalypse Movies, where we geek out on everything of the galaxy far, far away. Today we will be talking about Lightsaber Duels in the Star Wars saga, and it is known as Upon Further Review segment. Gio Ramos, who is joining me at the table today, he came up with the idea, he came up with the topic. It's going to be a fun little segment. We're going to be kind of discussing everything going on in the Star Wars world as far as lightsaber duels, prequels, the original films, the sequel trilogy that is going on now. Obviously no Rogue One because there's not really any lightsaber duels in there besides Vader killing some rebels. But yeah, so we're going to try and do this not on a regular basis, but we're going to try and do it quite often here at Apocalypse. It's a cool little segment, just kind of talk about everything going on in Star Wars. And what's wrong with talking about more Star Wars? So,
of course.
Gio, without further ado, man, take the reins. What do you got?
Yeah, so believe it or not, this all started with a picture I saw on Instagram of Revenge of the Sith, Episode 3, where Mace Windu, Kit Fisto, and the other two Jedi Masters are standing there, and they're about to arrest Palpatine. Mm-hmm. And it got me thinking, like, man, like, the lightsaber duels in the prequel, specifically the prequel era, they were good, but they were also disappointing, and upon all right, so at first, they're great to watch, they're fun, but upon further review, mm-hmm. you start noticing some things and you start having some problems. So that's what I want to talk about with you today, Jake. So lightsaber duels. Okay, before the prequels, there weren't really anything spectacular to watch, especially in A New Hope.
Well, the idea is cool, but it's very stiff.
Yes. Yeah. You think back to that first battle in A New Hope, as great as that movie is, mm-hmm. let's all admit the lightsaber battle isn't, Yeah. But, I mean, it was poking and very, very, stiff, like you said, yeah. And I guess maybe it was the time, right? I mean, I guess George Lucas kind of threw it in there, but didn't want that to be the takeaway of the movie. It's kind of like a neat little tool.
Yeah,
right?
And you can kind of see the growth, from A New Hope to The Empire Strikes Back.
Mm-hmm.
Just between Vader and Luke, it was still a little bit stiff, but it was a little bit more aggressive, like a true lightsaber battle should be. And then you see it in Return of the Jedi, a little bit more growth, mm-hmm. and obviously with the prequels. But yeah, I don't know. It's a combination of things. I think it's a combination of the time it was released.
Yeah. Granted, Mark Hamill is younger than Alec Guinness, so he can move.
Also, I think it may have been the factor like, do we really want this to be so aggressive? This idea is already outlandish as it is. Mm-hmm. With throwing in some seriously aggressive laser swords that can cut limbs without bleeding type of thing. Is that the right way to go? So I don't know. It's interesting. It'd be interesting to see what George Lucas would say about it. Obviously, we're never going to know, but it's still a great fight. I mean,
the conversation. Empire Strikes Back.
The conversation between the two, just on Obi-Wan and Vader, real quick, is like, even though that it was just literally like hand slaps back and forth, like, hey, dude, how's it going? Like, hey, hit me here and there. But it was more about the conversation between those two, and then you go to the Empire stuff. That's where it kind of really kicked off.
Oh yeah.
It really started to kick off. That's kind of where the whole lightsaber thing started. We could see what the potential was there. Mm-hmm. And then obviously again in Return of the Jedi. But we're going to talk a lot about the prequels. And we got the Phantom Menace going on in the background right now. And the Qui-Gon and Maul thing will pop up here pretty soon. But it's crazy. 20 years or 15 years or however long it was. What it can do to just the choreography and the ability of changing something like that. And it's fun because everybody goes looking forward to these movies for lightsabers, and that's why a lot of people didn't really connect with Rogue One because there were no lightsabers. So it's definitely something.
No Jedi.
No battles. So it's definitely something that should be talked about.
Yeah. So fast forward from '83 when Return of the Jedi came out all the way to 1999. We get the Phantom Menace. Now, I love their approach to, the lightsaber duels. The choreographer, God, what's his name? Nick Gillard. He's the He's the trainer for the actors to do the choreography.
Mm-hmm.
And he wanted to combine several sword fighting techniques like kendo and I believe kenjutsu with like physical swinging, like tennis and tree chopping. And you could definitely see that in the prequels.
Yeah.
So they definitely wanted to make it faster, more flashier, really show the Jedi and the Sith kind of, at least for the Jedi, during their peak,
Yeah, well, how strong they were. Yeah.
Right. And so, man, I remember as a child, like I was 10 years old when I saw the Phantom Menace, and I was so blown away by what I saw, like, from Darth Maul, when he takes on Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan, like he's doing things we haven't seen, that any Star Wars fan hasn't seen. Like he's swinging his lightsaber, but in between his swings, he's doing kicks.
Yeah.
He's doing flips. This guy is fast. And we see it early on in episode 1 where he kind of surprises Qui-Gon and, jumps in midair, starts fighting him. And by the end, Qui-Gon is laying in his ship. He's exhausted. Yeah. He is tired. But, so for you, what were your first impressions of, episode 1?
It's interesting because, the two of us, we don't have the experience of, like, we were kids. We don't really remember the excitement of the Star Wars original trilogies like other people do, just because they went and saw them in theaters. They watched them for 15 years before the prequels, or 20 years and whatever. And so other people got to see this kind of grow, and like they see the lightsabers in the original trilogy and they go in to see the Phantom Menace. They're like, holy F, like this is such a big turn. And for us, it's our first time really seeing any of it, because like as kids, we just don't know. We don't really know. And so whenever we see something like that, it's just like, it's a true spectacle, and we don't really realize it until we get older, like how really great it really was. And to us, it's like, oh my God, that's so cool. Like I want to be that guy, or whatever it is. And I echo everything you just said. It's the style that they chose to go with, not just like Game of Thrones style swords and all that kind of stuff. It's interesting, you have the kicks and
the martial arts.
It's just really cool, and it's a different style of fighting, and it follows what they do with Star Wars. That it's just different. It's just completely different from anything else, and they take chances. There was probably a huge chance that when they did these prequels that it just would not have worked with people.
Right.
People would have been like, oh, that's cheesy. How is he going to do that while doing this and fighting two other people? It's, but it's just cool. And, touching on the whole Qui-Gon being exhausted thing, we saw how powerful the Sith were in the original trilogy with Vader. Oh, yeah. Obviously the most powerful of all time. He's the guy. He's the standard.
Yeah.
But in a time of the prequels when the Sith were supposedly extinct for so long, it shows how powerful they really are against the Jedi, when they may not have been at their peak, but they were the standard then.
They were a force to be reckoned with.
Exactly. So Maul coming in as an unknown to Qui-Gon, who is one of the most powerful in the Order. He's not on the Council, but he's one of the most powerful in the Jedi Order. It's a testament of not just how powerful Maul is, but just the Sith way of the Force. And in no way am I endorsing the Sith, but it's interesting because the Sith come out on top here and there, but it's always the Jedi who eventually overwhelm them. They always kind of end up on top, and bad things do happen, but it's always the Jedi who are standing on top. We see that in the prequels. Vader may have risen in Revenge of the Sith, but Obi-Wan destroyed Vader truly. I mean, he kind of put him in a different path.
He fractured what he could have done.
He destroyed him.
Yeah.
And so, truthfully, Mace Windu bested Palpatine until Anakin showed up.
Oh, we're going to talk about that.
So, and then in the original trilogy, it took a while, but you see Luke, he not only turned Vader to the good side, but he bested Palpatine, and from the help with Vader, obviously. And who knows what will happen in the sequel trilogy? I mean, bad things are going to happen in The Last Jedi, we could imagine. But, the two sides, the conflict that goes on between them and the power, and it's fun to watch, and the different... yeah, there's so many things to talk about. It's so much fun to watch, and the Sith and the Jedi and all this stuff. It's the style as well, like how aggressive the Sith are and how precise the Jedi are, and the Sith, they take chances with the Jedi. They feel if they take chances, it's gonna kill them, and so it's cool to see two sides of the story, and it's like two of the biggest football teams in the world going at it for centuries, and with Bill Belichick's style of being aggressive and taking chances versus a team who is conservative and example, the Falcons and the Patriots the last year's Super Bowl. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's cool, and I'm interested to see how Rian Johnson does in The Last Jedi, because there's bound to be some badass lightsaber fights in that movie.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'm looking forward to that. So, all right. So we first saw it as kids, the episode 1.
Yep.
And it's important to mention John Williams' Duel of Fates.
Oh yeah. Well, it's our opener in the Padawan. It's our music.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So these battles aren't anything without John Williams. So we saw this as a kid, and we're young adults now. So upon further review, does the episode 1 battle between Darth Maul, Qui-Gon, and Obi-Wan, does that hold up?
It's an interesting question. I personally think it does, just because, again, going back to the whole thing, we don't have the old 70s way of watching Star Wars, and we were kind of, thrown into this universe as kids, and a lot of people, they have the experience of watching it 20 years prior. And so we see a double-sided lightsaber, we're like, cool. Those people are like, holy F, a double-sided lightsaber? Like, are you kidding me? And then the fact that he's fighting two people at once, with this saber, I think it does hold up, and it's the only time we've ever seen a double-sided lightsaber. Obviously, we see the cross-guard with Kylo Ren. But would Kylo Ren be able to take on Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon at the same time with that lightsaber? Highly doubt it. You know what I mean? Not, so it's really it's not just the choreography or how the fight goes down, but it's more of, who else in this universe with a lightsaber could enjoy that fight or could be involved in that fight. No, like Vader probably could have, because he's all powerful, obviously, but Kylo Ren, no. Rey, no. Obi-Wan against two people, we've probably seen it before, but with a regular lightsaber, it's hard.
Yeah.
Anakin, maybe, just because he's super powerful, but probably not. Like, he couldn't best Dooku, you know what I mean? It's just like, I think it holds up. I think it's one of the best that George Lucas has ever done. My personal favorite is Revenge of the Sith, Obi-Wan and Anakin, and we'll get to that, but I think it's one of the best because of, not just what it means for Star Wars, but it's a double-sided lightsaber, and it's someone taking on two people at once.
Oh yeah.
And think of the magnitude of the Jedi. Like, Qui-Gon is one of the best Jedi ever. Period. Like, he could have had a seat on the council, but he didn't want one.
Right.
And Obi-Wan, we know who Obi-Wan is. Sure, he was a Padawan then, but I mean, he killed Maul as a Padawan, and look what he became. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, I think it does hold up just because of more of what it is and who's involved, and the double-sided lightsaber, and Qui-Gon taking one to the stomach and seeing Obi-Wan become Obi-Wan and doing, following his master's word and going against the council and like all this stuff. There's so much more involved than just the fight. But it's also because, it's episode 1, it was the return of Star Wars. Boom, here you go. Here's the best lightsaber fight you'll ever see in your life.
Yeah.
So,
for me, it's the second best lightsaber fight in the whole saga, behind Empire Strikes Back, obviously.
Yeah, it's a good one.
But yeah, it's just I every time I watch it, like, I know it's gonna happen, but whenever Obi-Wan gets cut off, and then it's Qui-Gon and Darth Maul, it's like, oh no, like Qui-Gon, you're definitely stronger, but Maul's faster, and he's gonna get you, and he gets him, and then right when that shield goes down, it's on Obi-Wan and Maul. Like, credit to Ewan McGregor and Ray Park, who plays Darth Maul. Yeah. They really, that choreography, man, they turned it up all the way to like level 200, 200%.
Well, so it was again, not to interrupt, but it became. Yeah. We saw Luke be tempted by the dark side in the original trilogy.
Yeah.
We didn't ever really see him like become super aggressive. He was only tempted.
Yeah.
It was the first time we saw a Jedi not be so, goody two-shoes type of thing, like follow the code. Obi-Wan straight up wanted to kill him.
Oh.
Straight up wanted to kill him, and that's not the Jedi way. You know, Anakin says it in Revenge of the Sith. It's not the Jedi way. He had all intentions of going up there and destroying Maul as much as he could.
He was fighting with anger.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, for me, it definitely holds up. All right, let's move on to episode 2. Much different lightsaber duels in this movie, and we talked about that earlier. But let's bring them up first. I believe the first battle we get is actually Count Dooku versus Obi-Wan. And because Count Dooku takes out Anakin, quickly, and for me, the episode 2 as a child, it was kind of boring. In my opinion, I mean, yeah, it was. We saw Yoda.
I just watched it yesterday, so I know what you're talking
about. Yoda was fun to watch, but other than that, it's just it's not as flashy. It doesn't have as much style as episode 1. You're in love with Darth Maul. You miss Darth Maul, and you see this Count Dooku, who for myself later in life learns that's the great Christopher Lee. But as a kid, I'm like, who is this old guy? What is this?
Exactly.
So, and I made a point in my article that I wrote that pretty much based this whole podcast off. Count Dooku, he has a different fighting style. He's not all fast and flashy.
He's precise.
And he can beat you in more ways than one. And in this battle with Obi-Wan, he's getting in Obi-Wan's head, talking about, wow, this is the Jedi that Yoda talks about. I mean, surely you can do better, like he says in there. And he gets the best of Obi-Wan until Anakin comes in, and then from there, in my opinion, it goes downhill because Anakin has 2 lightsabers, and that looks cool for like 2 seconds, but then just
the thing is you said it's not as flashy. I think George Lucas tried to do. He saw what could be done with episode 1 and how big of a lightsaber duel could be, and I think he tried to be too artsy and close up shots and like the example is Anakin cuts the power cord, it goes dark, and there's like 5 seconds of screen time of just the saber swinging in the air basically. It's like
across their faces.
Yeah, it's like he was trying to do like an art gallery type thing and like make it super fancy and oh wow, like to all these people who just want to see a straight up lightsaber fight, what I mean? And
not
Obi-Wan
not a dance.
And especially after we saw what Obi-Wan can do in episode 1, like we wanted to see something more. And the Yoda part was much better because it was more aggressive. Yeah, it wasn't as like artsy or flashy or whatever you want to call it, but we've been hearing about Anakin and all this stuff, and we wanted to see something more from him. Obi-Wan was definitely bested a little too soon after destroying the Maul. But we understand, we had this conversation. You had asked us who would win in a fight, Dooku or Maul. Dooku is just powerful, 1, because he was in his prime. He learned more than Maul. And 2, he was trained by both Yoda and Palpatine.
That's a hell of
that's intelligence right there. So it's understandable why he would best Obi so soon. And Anakin, because Anakin's so young, and he just wants to go after him, especially because of the whole Padme thing. But it's definitely the weakest for sure. It's unfortunate because again, it's 1 versus 2.
Yes,
and to see 1 lightsaber versus 2 lightsabers instead of a double-sided versus 2 would have been cool, but it was only ended up being 1 because he forced lightning Anakin to the side, took down Obi-Wan, then took out Anakin, and then the Yoda factor came in. So yeah, it's unfortunate that it's the way it turned out. I mean, it had all the things going for it. A great character in Dooku. We learn a ton more about him later on during the Clone Wars and stuff. But
I will say the little show that Yoda and Count Dooku put on as far as who's better with the Force at the beginning.
Yeah, well, my powers have bested you, wherever he force lightning, and Yoda's like, F that, and he just holds the force lightning. Are you kidding me? So,
and then he sends it right back.
Well, and we didn't see a single thing from Yoda in episode 1. Single. He was sitting in a chair the entire time.
He was still a puppet.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So And then we know what he was in the original trilogy, and to see Yoda, obviously it wasn't his prime, but we figured out, and we now found out why he is the all-time greatest Jedi. Period. Like he's the one. Sure, Anakin or Luke or even Rey could be the chosen one, but Yoda's the dude. He's been around training for 900 years, and just him capturing Force lightning like that, it's a perfect example of why. Like there's nothing, like Obi-Wan used a lightsaber to block it. Like what else could Yoda not do if he can't hold or just straight up disintegrate lightning in his hand?
Beast. Yeah, so it's safe to say that upon further review, the episode 2 lightsaber battles,
the weakest
for the most part.
The weakest. I would probably put it lower than A New Hope.
Yeah, because at least A New Hope, it
had meaning behind it.
Yeah,
it had
you
much
can
more
understand.
meaning.
For the time.
Well, it was the first ever one we ever saw too. So
yeah. All right, so we move on to episode 3. There was no shortage of lightsaber duels in this movie.
Yeah,
we
worked out.
We get a lot.
It worked out.
And the first one is during the rescue of the Chancellor Palpatine. Obi-Wan and Anakin face off against Count Dooku again, and right off. I mean, for me, it's a much better battle than Attack of the Clones.
He learned from his mistakes, George Lucas. Yeah.
There's stakes. There's a sense of urgency. Granted, it's the last movie in the prequel trilogy, and once again, Obi-Wan gets knocked out early in the beginning. But I think it's intentional this time because Palpatine wanted to see what happens. Wanted to see what Anakin could do against Count Dooku. Is Count Dooku really the guy? Is he going to have to settle for Count Dooku another 10 more years? Or can he take Anakin? And we know how that ends up. And I think the shot of Anakin cutting off the hands and then putting the two sabers onto Count Dooku's neck and then the
that
conflict.
sequence.
The sequence, yes.
I know exactly. They go after it, and Anakin pulls a fast one, and he somehow dodges Dooku's sabers and left swipes his around Dooku's hands.
Move.
You see the saber flying up. He grabs it and just cross guards his neck. It's like I can picture that moment for a moment. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, even if you aren't a fan of Hayden Christensen at this point, you got to admit that was a pretty sick move that his Anakin character did. And then how it ends. It's just. I thought it was one of the better lightsaber duels, just because of the purpose and the meaning behind it.
Well, we knew Anakin had anger, obviously. Like he was a different breed, but that we hadn't seen a Jedi kill someone like that before. Like, sure, Windu cut off Jango Fett's head in Episode 2, but that was in the midst of a battle.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, and so that makes sense. But this was straight up. I mean, you could almost consider this straight up murder.
Oh, it is murder. Yeah, because he's unarmed.
Exactly.
Literally unarmed.
Yeah, like, unhand.
Yeah. Wow. And it's just all in all a crazy battle.
Yeah, it just shows like I said, George Lucas learned, and the choreography was better, the aggressiveness was better. It was a true fight. For the first time, we saw like the swords and sandal type thing. Yeah. And I always go back to it. I don't know if it was released earlier or before, but the Troy scene of Eric Bana and Brad Pitt fighting. Like that kind of choreography where it's just mano-a-mano, and then Obi-Wan gets knocked out and Count Dooku's like, your powers have doubled since the last time I've seen you. I've been looking forward to this or whatever. And I think Dooku knew what was going on. I don't know if we'll ever know, if he realized who Anakin was or what he was going to become. But I think Dooku had some kind of sense of what could happen to Anakin if he pushed him to the edge. And but he obviously didn't know he was going to die. Palpatine pulled a fast one. Yeah. And because
Palpatine's probably like, test
exactly.
it, and then next thing you know, kill him.
Exactly.
And Dooku looks at him like, what?
Well, that's a true Sith thing to do. And at the time, we didn't know he was the Sith. But it's interesting. And so it's definitely one of the better. Again, it's 1 versus 2 until someone gets knocked out. It seemed to be the theme through the prequels. Yeah. And Obi-Wan was in every single one of those fights. But it's one of the better, and it only leads into what's to come in the movie, because What's to Come is probably my favorite lightsaber duel in all of the movies so far.
Okay, we'll get to that.
Yeah.
I believe the next one is Obi-Wan versus
Grievous,
which is not really a lightsaber fight.
It happens for a few while, and then they go on a huge, basically car chase.
I mean, it's almost as disappointing as the next one we're going to talk about because, so Grievous pulls out 4 lightsabers, a very, very cool sequence, how did he get these lightsabers? Yeah. The Fallen Jedi. And in a deleted scene, we do see one of the Jedi.
Shakti.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, well, that's funny because in the she actually, Shakti, on a side note, she actually died 2 different times in 2 deleted scenes, 2 different ways.
Oh, really?
There were 2 death scenes for her. One of them was, I think, on the bridge with Grievous in the beginning of the movie. Mm-hmm. And then one of them was in the hallway scene, which I think is the one you're probably talking about. There were 2 death scenes of her dying 2 different ways in deleted scenes.
Damn, George.
And deleted scenes aren't canon, so technically she didn't die those ways, which is even weirder.
Right,
so.
Yeah, it's all weird. So, I mean, I don't really count this as a lightsaber duel. It just shows
it happens
more,
for 10 seconds or something.
If anything, it just shows more badass Obi-Wan is,
Well, he took on 4 lightsabers and he cut off, I think he cut off, 2 of his hands? Mm-hmm. One or 2 of his hands.
And then he just did a force push.
Yeah, and Grievous is, 2-3 feet taller than he is, and Obi-Wan does the classic Obi-Wan move with the 2 fingers out, and Grievous is a really cool character. The only thing is for me is he wasn't force sensitive. Mm-hmm. He just learned from Dooku. He just learned the ways of the lightsaber, and just to make him a little bit better.
Now, does that show how bad Dooku is as a teacher, or how weak Grievous is?
I think it's how weak Grievous is because, and not a lot of people are going to know this, but because of how Dooku teaches others in the Clone Wars series, the animated series, like Ventress is freaking powerful, and she's his apprentice, and then Maul's brother, I forget his name, but he becomes Dooku's apprentice, and he becomes super powerful.
Yeah.
So I think it's more on Grievous's end, and the fact that he just isn't force sensitive.
Yeah.
Because a lot of it comes from the force, knowing where this is going to happen and this is going to happen and whatnot. So.
All right. So next one, the one that started it all for this whole article, this podcast for me, Mace Windu and his fellow Jedi Masters, Kit Fisto, versus Palpatine. This is probably the most disappointing one
By far.
Maybe in the whole saga, honestly.
It's not the worst, but it is the most disappointing.
Okay, so it starts off with Mace Windu and his Jedi Masters, and what always captured me was the way they entered. Like they're all serious. They're all walking, and then they get into their defensive stance. They know what they're about to face. Palpatine ignites his lightsaber, does a little jump twist, and then lands, and then I counted it. I rewatched the video and I counted the amount of seconds. It's 9 seconds. Palpatine takes out all 3 Jedi Masters. 2 of them in less than 3 seconds or 5 seconds. It's ridiculous. And then he takes out Kit Fisto. Sad. That's one of my favorite guys. And then it's just I don't know. It's like a very slow fight between Mace Windu and Palpatine. There's none of that, urgency, stakes or anything like that. It's just the choreography is just not as good. Palpatine makes stupid faces in between his strikes. Mm-hmm. He does flips and all this stuff. And then, like you said, Mace Windu bests him, but then Anakin comes in,
it's unfortunate. And I think Lucas had great intentions behind it. Mm-hmm. I think it was just a factor of Samuel L. Jackson being a little bit older, Ian McDermott being a little bit older. Mm-hmm. But yeah, like you had mentioned Kit Fisto, and again going back to the Clone Wars series and previous material, but he's one of the coolest Jedi around.
Yeah.
And they didn't portray him at all like he actually is in the movies, which is unfortunate.
Yeah.
He was never in the forefront. Mm-hmm. And to see him die that quick and it's almost like an embarrassment in a way.
Yeah.
It sucks because he's a super cool dude, and he's so free loving, and he's all powerful too. He's extremely powerful, and to see him kind of get bested like that, just really, like 9 seconds or whatever it is, and
like you couldn't give him one of those, you know how we see the other Jedi Masters die. Like, you couldn't give him his own.
Well, like Plo Koon, and Plo Koon is probably one of my favorites of all time, and he died in a freaking plane, or a jet or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's unfortunate, you know, and because that fight could have been really, really cool. Like Palpatine could have easily done some like force push, fought Mace Windu, force push him, fought another one, killed him, and then whatever. It could have been like a 15-minute sequence.
Yeah.
Instead, it was like 5 minutes just to rush the ending of Vader.
Pretty much, yeah.
And so I think he just wanted to get to the Vader reveal that fast. And it's unfortunate because, you know, we think we saw Mace Windu die. We don't know if he actually died, apparently. Right. But and then you saw Kit Fisto die, and I don't know who the other two Jedi are, but it's definitely the most disappointing. I would have to agree with you. Definitely the most disappointing. Because there was the wow factor was there, it just wasn't executed.
Right. Yeah. I totally agree. Side question. Random question. Had Mace Windu granted Anakin Skywalker the rank of Jedi Master,
wouldn't have happened.
But would that have? Would that outcome have turned out differently? That's what I'm saying.
That outcome wouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
I think it may have happened down the road, but it wouldn't have happened that quickly.
Yeah.
I think, you know, and Anakin, again, he's a different breed, but it kind of just pushed him over the edge a little bit farther. He was already being pushed that way, and he's just an emotional little kid.
Yeah.
He was probably, mid-20s or something like that. And yeah, I don't think that would have happened, and I think a lot of it had to do with Mace Windu, and it's not even that. It was the whole. I don't even know if it was the Master Jedi stuff or the seat on the council or whatever. It was him not being allowed to arrest Palpatine.
Yeah.
Like when he said, and that may have triggered Vader first of all, but when he said, "No, you stay here. We're gonna go do this" or whatever, that kind of pushed him as well. It was just one thing after another in the movie, and it's unfortunate, you know, because we wonder, you know, what if he didn't turn to Vader? Like, what could have been?
Oh, yeah.
Because we see the greatness of Anakin, not in the actual prequels, but the Clone Wars series. That Anakin is the Anakin that I love. I mean, that's the Anakin. So,
yeah. All right. Well, just thought I'd ask that real quick. And moving on. So, I think this is it, right? The climactic battle.
This is the one.
Battles.
This is the battles. Yeah, you're right. This is
you have two battles going on simultaneously. You have Yoda versus Sidious, and you have Obi-Wan versus Anakin. Let's start off with Yoda versus Sidious real quick. It starts off on a really funny note. Palpatine or Sidious's guards, they threaten Yoda, and Yoda just
he's like,
puts his hand up. He's like, "Get off!"
Yeah.
And then it's a little bit of a show of force, and then Sidious realizes, oh, this guy means for real. And then they start fighting. Sidious starts throwing these Senate seats at Yoda. Yoda catches one, throws it back, and then, you know, it just goes into a lightning showdown kind of thing. And then I never bought how the fight ended. Like, so Yoda loses his grip, falls to the ground. He's hurt, but he's not defeated. But no, I need to go into exile.
I don't know. I mean,
or do you see it a different way?
No, I see it that way, but I also see that maybe he realized that it wasn't going to go anywhere, and maybe it was just better for him to go off and take the high road, or you know, go away and make sure that he survived. That way, something else can come later on, and maybe it wasn't on screen, but maybe he realized, or he was, you know, he felt the force of the whole Anakin Obi-Wan thing going on. You know, maybe he realized, you know, even if Obi-Wan best Anakin, Anakin's still gonna rise. Yeah. Because even it was episode 2 when Padme falls out of the cruiser. Anakin gets all frustrated, go around, drop the ship, turn the ship around, and it cuts to Yoda, and he feels what's going through Anakin. He could have very much felt what's going through Anakin, and been like, okay, this isn't going anywhere. Either way, it's going to go bad. Yeah, I gotta get out of here. So I mean, either way, it's
I never
both ways.
It
It can go both ways. I mean, but as for the fight, there were cool moments. But again, I think it was just two old guys fighting. Two old guys who have been involved in the Force for much longer than any of us would have been, and so they're using other stuff to their advantage other than lightsaber fights. They have all this stuff around them, start throwing stuff at each other and lightning.
I did like that.
So it's really cool. It's two different. Again, it's another perspective of the Force that George Lucas decided to use. So
yeah. All right, so let's get to the fight. Your fight. It's right in the middle of the official poster. Yeah. Anakin versus Obi-Wan.
The Lion King moment.
Yeah. Now, the dialogue isn't as good, leading up to this fight. I do like how Obi-Wan's standing at the top. He's like, come on, say something, do something.
Well, from the moment, even maybe a little bit before that, but when he's standing at the ship and he walks down, I can not quote blankly, but if the movie is playing and the voice or the volume isn't on, word for word through that entire sequence. I have watched that scene over and over again. I can remember every single word that's said at every single moment, and I love talking about it just because it's my favorite lightsaber duel.
Go ahead, take it.
No, I can't do it right now because I have to actually have.
Well, no, not that. I mean,
the duel itself is just. And there's some things here, there's one moment that's super cheesy where they're literally just swinging the lightsabers like this.
I put a gif of that on the.
Yeah, and they're not even touching each other, and that is okay, sure, that wouldn't actually be happening, but Obi-Wan and Anakin, and it may not have been portrayed in the movie as best as it was in the Clone Wars, in comic books and whatnot, or side stuff, but they're brothers. They were not by blood, but they were the best of friends, and Obi-Wan was his older brother to Anakin, and he was the mentor since he was so young, and to see it come to a head like that, it was heart-wrenching at the time, and that came out 2005, which I was 13 years old, and so to see, and at the time I wasn't oh wow, he's Vader, I was kind of just falling through this stuff, and so it was big, and to see these two kind of go at it and legitimately try and kill each other, it was tough, and it's a little bit outlandish seeing them kind of run through the entire planet of Mustafar, pretty much, and not staying in one place, which cool, it's awesome, but the fighting itself is strong, and it's legit aggressiveness, and you see him using the Force, and the one scene where they cut away from holding each other and they both go back with the Force and come back at each other, and then they both fly off, and because the Force is so strong, is they're using all that they have. Obi-Wan knows that, even though that he's the chosen one, he's the brother that he never had, he's the family he never had because he's in the Jedi Order, that he has to stop this guy because of what has happened. Yes. All of his Jedi has already been killed. They went to the temple, they redirected the Order 66 to make sure all the left Jedi knew what was going on, and Anakin's the reason why. He killed freaking younglings. Yes. He killed younglings, and so he knew that even though Anakin meant so much to him, that he had to stop him.
And he lied to Padme about it.
And Anakin, he was just twisted by the dark side, as a lot of people are, and you could see the true anger that was always inside of him, and it's really, really good stuff. Really good stuff, and sometimes it gets a little crazy, climbing on the broken pieces of hardware, or flowing through the lava. That's cool spectacle and stuff, but the dialogue for me was, the back and forth between them is great. Hayden Christensen's performance maybe is not the best, whatever.
I think this one's good.
It does get a little bit better. It could have been a little bit better, but there were moments where it's okay, that.
Not the best line delivery, but then again, not the best dialogue.
Exactly. So, but yeah, and then that final moment, I have the high ground. That's said everywhere.
Oh my god.
You underestimate my power, and he tries to go for it. Obi-Wan, he does the best to not kill him. He slices off his limbs, but he knows that leaving him there will probably end up killing him, but he doesn't realize that he's ended up saved until A New Hope and whatnot. But it's my personal favorite. I think it's the most. It has the most depth to it.
Mm-hmm.
It uses the most resources of lightsaber fights, and the emotional factor between Obi-Wan and Anakin. You know, we've seen these two grow together over 3 movies.
Yeah.
The prequels are arguably their movies, so to see it kind of come to a head like that, and then it puts more in value of what the A New Hope fight was as well.
Right.
You know, it kind of adds to that and that as well, and so there's a lot of meaning behind it. The action just wasn't cool, but there was a ton of meaning behind it.
Mm-hmm.
The Padme stuff as well, and you know, Anakin's the reason why she died. She didn't have the will to live anymore, and so yeah, I mean it's more than just a lightsaber fight, and I think George Lucas finally got it right. It took him 3 movies. You know, obviously the prequel or the episode 1 was great, but this one had the emotional factor more than the Qui-Gon Jinn stuff.
Yeah.
As much as we love that, this is. I mean, just imagine. I mean, you got a brother versus brother. I mean,
yeah,
it'd be crazy.
That stuff really hits home, man. I will say, you know, Lucas, he did a really good job in making these 2 battles, both the Obi-Wan Anakin, the Yoda Sidious, feel grand.
Well, I love the back and forth too.
Yeah,
like just cutting back and forth.
Yeah,
so.
It was really good, and you know, the lightsaber didn't. Both battles, in my opinion, didn't end on the best notes, but it by the end of it, you felt like, okay, I had it.
Mm-hmm.
Like that was good. Thank you, Lucas. Like I feel satisfied.
Yeah.
You know, at least as far as those 2 battles go. So you were 13 when you first saw Revenge of the Sith.
13, yeah.
It
was the first
15.
prequel I saw in theaters. I was too young for episode 1, 2, but I remember going to theater opening night and being like, oh my god, Star Wars.
PG-13.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I got to ask you the question upon further review. Do these battles hold up? Particularly the Obi-Wan Anakin?
Overall or singly?
Let's go overall, and then as far as single goes, let's pick the one that you...
So, well, I think overall, if you're to bring them all together and do like a whole mean, medium thing, whatever, with an average, I don't think they hold up. I think there are only two that do, and there's like 4 or 5 of them or something like that overall. Yeah. So I don't think they do. It's funny because the first and the last one are the best.
Yes. Everything
in between, just okay, so you know, below average. But obviously the best one for me is Anakin vs. Obi-Wan. The Maul one at the beginning, fantastic. It really, and it's unfortunate because it started off on such a high note.
Yes.
And I think that's the reason why it doesn't hold up, because everything else after, other than Obi-Wan Anakin, is just kind of like, oh, really? Like, that was so disappointing, you know what I mean? And so the first and the last are definitely the best. Everything in between, it's kind of a bummer, but I'm really glad that Lucas was able to finish off on a high note in his final Star Wars movie. So
yeah, I actually will have to agree with you on that, on everything you just said. You know, I'm really happy that these battles exist.
Yeah,
you know,
Lucas
tried
have
something.
meaning,
Yeah, and he went for it. Now, do you hope to see anything similar to what the prequels gave us going forward in the new Star Wars?
Well, I think we'll have one. You know, The Last Jedi.
There's an opportunity.
There is, because you know,
Luke.
and again, well, starting off with Rey, we don't know who Rey is yet. You know, whether she is related to Luke or not. The potential for Rey and Kylo Ren could be big. Mm-hmm. It could be a Maul Obi-Wan type thing. Yeah. Because if they're not related, they're just the two destined to fight each other. You know. Yeah. They're the young ones. But the Obi-Wan Anakin side of things, it's Luke versus Kylo.
Yes.
And that could be huge emotionally. I mean, that's literally uncle versus nephew. Mm-hmm. You know, it's literally family, and it's not just Master versus Padawan, or you know, best friend versus best friend, or whatever it is. Yeah. It's literally family blood against family blood. Yeah. So that's going to be big. We don't know who else is going to be involved with lightsabers. You know, whether it's Snoke or, you know, Benicio del Toro's character, or whatever it is. But there's potential. I think Rian Johnson, it's great that it's in his hands, because he knows exactly what he's doing.
I think he'll find balance.
He knows exactly what he's doing, and he not just that, but he knows how to find the aggressiveness and stuff.
Yeah.
If you've watched his first film, Brick, very dark.
Mm-hmm.
Looper has some fantastic action sequences in it. So it's great that it's in his hands. I mean, we saw what J.J. Abrams could do with The Force Awakens and Kylo Ren and Rey. So they already have ties between those two, and I think it's gonna, not end bad for Rey, but Kylo Ren's gonna come out on top the next time they fight.
Yeah.
Just because that's kind of how it has to
course,
go.
yeah.
You gotta have the balance per se. But yeah, I think we're gonna see some really cool stuff. Some really, really cool stuff. I don't know if we'll see any fancy lightsabers, but I think Rian Johnson is literally just gonna give us the best lightsaber scenes he can give us.
Mm-hmm. I hope to see at least one of these anthology movies feature the Jedi.
I think we
have
will.
some of that.
I think we will.
Flashy.
I hope it's a Knights of the Old Republic type thing.
Yeah.
But there's also the opportunity for Obi-Wan.
Oh yeah.
The only issue with that is he's trying to exile himself from being a Jedi. So does he use his lightsaber? Does he not? I mean, who knows? But I think we will see the Jedi and the lightsabers again. I hope it's either Knights of the Old Republic or a Knights of Ren type thing would be really cool. So, a perspective from the dark side.
Mm-hmm. All right, good stuff, man. All right, this is it for Upon Further Review, the Padawan Podcast Anthology.
Yeah.
Jake, thank you so much for talking Star Wars.
Oh, dude, always.
Let everyone know where they can find you.
Twitter, Instagram, at Qui-Gon Jake. Yes, that is at Qui-Gon Jake. Apocalypsemovies.com every day. Check us out, Gio and I. We're trying to do all kinds of stuff on the website. We might actually end up bringing a couple more people in to help us out, not just with videos, but the website as well, which will be really fun. Check us out what we're trying to do. For us, school is ending here pretty soon. We're going to try and ramp up the content with all kinds of stuff going on, and hopefully you guys enjoy it. So let us know in the comments and everything, and share, subscribe, like. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely let us know your thoughts on the Lightsaber Duels and the prequels and in the original trilogy as well. Let us know what you like, what you didn't like, and as always, we'll comment back and talk Star Wars with you. And you can find me on Twitter. I actually changed my Twitter handle. It's at GeoDude90.
Nice.
GeoDude because I was a Pokemon fan growing up.
Nice.
So you can find me on Twitter and apocalypsemovies.com. Check out news articles, reviews, editorials, and we'll catch you later next time, guys.
May the Force be with you.
Oh yeah.